Lewis Hamilton endured a difficult Saturday at the 5.412-kilometer Bahrain International Circuit in Sakhir, qualifying only ninth at a venue where the seven-time Formula One world champion has, secured 5 career wins throughout his career. Despite high hopes for his Ferrari debut season, Hamilton's fastest lap was 0.9 seconds off Oscar Piastri's pole-sitting McLaren and nearly 0.6 seconds adrift of his Maranello teammate Charles Leclerc, who secured second on the grid, thanks also to a penalty received by George Russell. The result left Lewis Hamilton visibly disappointed and, perhaps more troubling, without a clear understanding of where the performance deficit stemmed from. After stepping out of his Ferrari, the Briton acknowledged to reporters that he was lacking answers. He admitted he simply wasn't quick and described the experience as far from encouraging. When questioned about whether this was the lowest point since joining the Italian side, Lewis Hamilton admitted it was certainly not a pleasant feeling. The opening 4 rounds of Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari chapter have offered, mixed signals. From his first laps at the Fiorano circuit during the winter period, Lewis Hamilton noted how fundamentally different the SF-25 felt compared to the Mercedes cars he had raced for over a decade. Even with his extensive experience, it was clear early on that adapting to Maranello's machinery would take time. The British driver, aware of the enormous challenge that comes with changing teams so late in his career, had consistently warned of the transition period. Still, his arrival in red had ignited significant anticipation, with fans and pundits expecting immediate results. A surprise pole and sprint victory in China briefly lifted spirits and offered a glimpse of what might be possible. However, the main race at the Shanghai International Circuit was less convincing, reinforcing the notion that Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari are still finding their rhythm. That sprint win increasingly looks like an outlier amid an otherwise inconsistent run of form. In Japan, the 7-time F1 world champion felt more optimistic. He noted incremental progress and revealed the team had discovered a setup tweak that could bring him a tenth of a second per lap relative to Charles Leclerc. With qualifying gaps between the two drivers averaging just 0.048 seconds in the opening events, namely Australia, China Sprint, China GP, and Japan, the update had the potential to shift the internal balance in Lewis Hamilton's favor. Yet in Bahrain, the promised turnaround failed to materialize. Despite resolving some earlier setup discrepancies, Hamilton's qualifying session turned into a frustrating exercise. In Q1, he narrowly edged Charles Leclerc. In Q2, he trailed by 0.285 seconds. By Q3, the gap had ballooned to 0.597 seconds, the largest margin between the pair all season. A track limits violation at turn 13 saw his first flying lap deleted, but it made little difference. His initial effort was already significantly slower than his second. Post-session analysis of Lewis Hamilton's telemetry highlighted a sobering truth. In the first sector, he remained close to his Monegasque teammate, but from turn 7 onward, the deficit grew. He lost time in turn 8 and again through turns 10 to 13. Charles Leclerc was notably quicker through every key corner, carrying more speed and gaining a combined 0.55 seconds without any visible mistakes from the Briton, simply a lack of raw pace. By Sunday, the narrative had shifted. Starting 9th, Lewis Hamilton made a strong recovery drive to finish 5th, showing a renewed connection with the car in the race's second stint. His turnaround coincided with Ferrari's alternate tire strategy. Both cars began on medium compounds while the rest of the top 10 opted for softs, allowing for a longer opening stint. When Lewis Hamilton pitted on lap 18, he dropped to 11th, but quickly went on the offensive. Just 2 laps later, he set the fastest lap of the race so far. Over the next 8 laps, he gained 5 positions and slashed the gap to George Russell in second from 16.7 seconds to 11.3, despite Russell enjoying clearer air. Notably, Lewis Hamilton's pace compared favorably to Charles Leclerc's during the same phase. After overtaking Esteban Ocon for 6th, he managed to cut 1.5 seconds out of the Monegasque's lead. Across 14 laps, the former Mercedes man lost just 0.6 seconds to his teammate, despite having to work through traffic. Although this sample represented only a portion of the 57-lap race, it suggested that Lewis Hamilton had found a stronger setup window, one that finally suited his driving style and unlocked more potential from the SF-25. Speaking after the race, Lewis Hamilton described the middle stint as a turning point. He said he felt more aligned with the car and that the balance felt right for the first time. He noted that his driving style meshed well with the setup in that stint, which gave him both confidence and clarity. He added that he had learned more over the Bahrain weekend than in all the previous rounds combined. Lewis Hamilton acknowledged that his qualifying performance remained subpar, but insisted that if he could consistently reach the feeling he had in that second stint, he would be able to show he could still fight at the front. For now, the goal is to translate that race pace into qualifying consistency as the adjustments in driving style continue. One of the biggest obstacles in Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari journey has been adapting to an entirely different driving philosophy. In Japan, he had diverged from Charles Leclerc's setup direction, but decided to move closer to his teammates' configuration at the Bahrain International Circuit. That move appeared to pay off. Eventually. During the race, the British driver felt he discovered how to extract more performance from that setup, particularly under braking. He mentioned that he had begun to grasp the nuances of the SF-25, including the use of engine braking, which was not employed at Mercedes, and the switch from carbon industry to Brembo brakes. After the race, the Briton reflected on how ingrained his previous habits had become. He admitted that driving in a certain style for so many years with Mercedes had made it difficult to recalibrate, but he was now slowly rewiring his instincts to better suit Ferrari's car. He noted that Charles Leclerc typically sticks with one setup throughout a weekend, whereas he had often found himself deviating, something he admitted needed to change. Moving forward, he intends to commit earlier to a baseline setup and work from there with fewer mid-weekend adjustments. Ferrari team principal Fréd Vasseur acknowledged the immense challenge facing Lewis Hamilton and emphasized the difficulty of replacing 12 years of Mercedes familiarity in just a few races. He said the team was committed to helping Lewis Hamilton adapt, but stressed that the adaptation needed to be mutual. Fréd Vasseur appreciated Lewis Hamilton's introspection after a disappointing performance in the qualifying session on Saturday, seeing it as a sign of commitment. The Frenchman noted that a champion being visibly disappointed after a poor result is more valuable than indifference. He believes Lewis Hamilton's willingness to take responsibility and push for personal improvement is a key asset for the Maranello team. Looking ahead to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix weekend, despite a bumpy start and the false dawn of the China sprint result, Lewis Hamilton's performance in Bahrain's race offered a ray of hope for both the team and driver. With a better understanding of Charles Leclerc's setup and how to exploit it, he appears to be edging closer to unlocking the SF-25's full potential. The Briton admitted he needs to simplify his approach, avoid overcomplicating weekends, and start stronger. The 7-time Formula One world champion believes he has now understood how the car wants to be driven, and if that knowledge can be applied effectively in just a few days at the Jeddah circuit in Saudi Arabia, a more complete weekend performance could be on the horizon.